Hey everyone, Chell here with Prismatic Powders. Today we're talking about a problem as old as rust itself, ugly pitted metal.
You just drop in, you just ride the barrel and get pitted, so pitted like that.
Sometimes even this stuff deserves a new lease on life. The problem is, no matter how good your powder coating is, if the surface underneath looks like the surface of the moon, your finish will too. Sometimes parts come in looking like they've had a hard life. But you or your customer have very high expectations for the project. These are often restoration projects, maybe mystery steel from a farm implement graveyard. But the challenge is always the same. How do you make something rough smooth? Now, here's the cruel physics of powder coating. When powder melts, it flows into every low valley in the substrate, which means that even with 3 mils of coating, those dimples may not disappear. So what do? Well, we give the part a light coat of primer and then we massage it with sandpaper. We've got a few primer options depending on your substrate, but if you don't have primer on hand, any solid tone powder coating can work in a pinch as well. I like white or light grays the best because they won't bleed into other layers of powder. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let's get things started. The tools you're going to need: 220 grit to 320 grit, wet sanding paper or sanding block, some water, and a podcast about true crime or conspiracy theories because this part takes a little patience. After some prep work of degreasing and sandblasting, it's time for our first light coat. For the record, I'm using epoxy primer, shooting at 1.5 to 2 mils. In general, the worse the pitting, the thicker the coat. But to be practical, if it looks like a coral reef, maybe reconsider the project. But light pitting, that's totally manageable. Once the primer flows out, pull it from the oven, then let it cool, and then trust the process. At first, you're going to see the low spots and the pitting, but as you'll soon see, the high spots will get sanded down until they're level with the lows. We're going to start with the 220 grit and knock things down, and I've got the 320 on hand if we need to smooth things out. Wet sanding is very important here. Dry sanding is going to leave scratches. The wet sanding will leave your dignity. When it feels smooth to the touch, that's a good indication that those little dips and valleys have been filled and your sanding is done. But if it still feels like a potholed road, keep wet sanding. But pay close attention here because any visible dimples can still show up if you don't get rid of them. If you've got some stubborn dimples, I find that ditching the sanding block and then switching over just to the wet sanding paper is much more effective because you can get a lot more pressure on the part. Next, we're going to rinse our parts and wipe it down with a damp cloth. Then we're going to let it dry completely, and you can air dry or toss it in the oven for a few minutes. Then we're going to blow off any remaining debris and coat it like normal with the final color. I like to check a couple minutes after flow out, make sure everything's looking good. If it looks good, I let it cure. Okay, so let's reference the results. This side of the part had no sanding at all, while this side had inadequate sanding. We still had a little bit of the dimpling on there. It's a lot more smooth than the other side, but you can still see them. Once we get to this part, You can see with proper sanding that we've got a totally smooth surface compared to the others. Can you see that? Like a little smooth piglet belly. And now for this piece, we also had 0 sanding on this side and then proper sanding on this side, and you can visibly see the difference. And just like that, the pits are gone. No special fillers, just powder and patience. Now that is it for this one. If you found this helpful, hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll see you next time when we make more ugly metal beautiful again.